Hi guys, let's start the next exercise, exercise 23C. So exercise 23C involves solving trigonometrical equations. Again, now hope you notice the table on the right hand side. Let me just quickly revise how to create the table. You write this 5 standard angles 0, 30, 45, 60, 90. Then you write 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 4 and then take square root of this. So the first value that you get after taking the square root would be sine. So the first one is 0, this is half, this is 1 by root 2, this is root 3 by 2, and the last one is 1. If you want to move from sine to cos, write the value of sine in the reverse order, which is 1, root 3 by 2, 1 by root 2, half, and 0. And if you want to write tan from here, then you divide sine by cos. So tan is equal to sine upon cos, which means 0 by 1, that's 0. This is 1 by root 3, this is 1, this is root 3, and 1 divided by 0 is not defined or infinite. Now let's look at the reciprocal relations. The reciprocal of sine is cosec, so you take reciprocal of this. So this is infinite or not defined. This 30 degree will be 2, this would be root 2, 60 degree would be 2 upon root 3, and cosec 90 would be 1. Now if you want to move from cosec to sec, you write the value of cosec in the reverse order. So 1, 2 upon root 3, root 2, 2, and not defined. And finally the cot value, you write tan in the reverse order. So that's infinite, root 3, 1, 1 upon root 3, and 0. So this is basically a small trick of writing values of trigonometrical ratios of standard angles. Let's solve some questions from exercise 23C now. So this is in the form of an equation where some values are given. So let's look at this. This means cos 2a would be equal to 1 upon 2. Right? I just took 2 on the other side. Now let's look at the table. I realize since cos 60 degree is equal to 1 upon 2, and in this case given equal to cos 2a, what it means is 2a is equal to 60 degree, which means a is equal to 30 degree. So as simple as that. Next is part 4, which is sec 2a is equal to 2. Now let's look at the sec value. I realize sec 60 degree is equal to 2. Since sec 2a is equal to 2 is equal to sec 60 degree, which means 2a is equal to 60 degree, which means a is equal to 30 degree. Done. Let's look at the next set of questions. The next question that we do is question number 1, part 5. So it says root 3 tan a is equal to 1, which means tan a would be equal to 1 upon root 3, and since tan 30 degree is equal to 1 upon root 3, which is given equal to tan a, therefore a would be equal to 30 degree. Next questions. 2 sine 3a is equal to 1. This is part 7, which means sine 3a is equal to half. And let's see which value of sine, which angle of sine is equal to half. So sine 30 degree. So since sine 30 degree is equal to half, which is given equal to sine 3a, this means 3a is equal to 30 degree. What it means is a is equal to 10 degree. Next question. This is very simple. It's going very fast as well. That's why. Let's look at the next question. The next question is question number 2, part 1. And that reminds me of the equations where we done in expansions, not in expansions, but in factorization, where we had term 1 multiplied with term 2 is equal to 0. What it means is if x into y is equal to 0, what this means is x is equal to 0 or y is equal to 0. Right? Because two non-zero numbers when multiplied with each other can never give us 0. So let's divide this question into 2 parts. What this means is sine a minus 1 is equal to 0 or 2 cos a minus 1 is equal to 0. Now this gets converted into the question that we done in the previous question. Now this is simple now, so which means sin a is equal to 1 or 2 cos a is equal to 1. Now since sine 0 degree, no not 0, 90 degree is equal to 1, which means, and this is given equal to sine a, which means a is equal to 90 degree. Let's look at the part 2. Part 2 as in the second part of this question, which is cos a is equal to half, and since cos 60 degree is equal to half, it means a is equal to 60 degree. So what this means is a is equal to 60 degree or 90 degree. So I have two values of a, which will give me sin a minus 1 multiplied with 2 cos a minus 1 is equal to 0. Similarly, we'll divide this into two parts. What this means is sec 2a minus 1 is equal to 0 or cosec 3a minus 1 is equal to 0. The first part becomes sec 2a is equal to 1 or the second part becomes cosec 3a is equal to 1. Now let's look at the value of sec, which is equal to 1. So sec 0 degree is equal to 1. So since sec 0 degree is equal to 1, this means sec 2a is equal to 1 is equal to sec 0 degree, which means 2a is equal to 0 degree, which means a is equal to 0 degree. So that's one value of a. Let's look at the second part, which means since which value of cosec is equal to 1, cosec 90. So since cosec 90 degree is equal to 1, which is given equal to cosec 3a, it means 3a is equal to 90 degree, which means a is equal to 30 degree. So we have again two values of a, which means a is equal to 0 degree or 30 degree. So both values of a here would satisfy the given equation. Next one, let's look at question number 2, part 5. It says cosec 2a minus 2 is multiplied with cot 3a minus 1. Again, we'll break it up into two parts, which means cosec 2a minus 2 is equal to 0 or cot 3a minus 1 is equal to 0. Let's look at the first part, which means this becomes cosec 2a is equal to 2, or this becomes cot 3a is equal to 1. Now here this is cot 45. So since cot 45 degree is equal to 1, which is given equal to cot 3a, which means 3a is equal to 45 degree, which means a is equal to 15 degree. So that's the second part. Let's look at the first part. Which value of cosec is equal to 2? 30 degree. Now since cosec 30 degree is equal to 2, which is given equal to cosec 2a, what this means is 2a is equal to 30 degree, which means a is equal to 15 degree. Now in this case, both values of a are equal, which means a is equal to 15 degree. That's the final answer. Let's look at the next question. The next question that we're doing is question number 4. Question number 4 says if 4 cos square x minus 1 is equal to 0 and x lies between 0 degree and 90 degree, we need to find the value of x. So let's look at this. 4 cos square x minus 1 is equal to 0. This means 4 cos square x is equal to 1, which means cos square x is equal to 1 by 4, which means cos x is equal to 1 upon 2. Square root of 1 by 4, which is 1 upon 2. We can take plus minus 1 upon 2, but since values are between 0 and 90 degree, the value of cos cannot be negative. So we'll just write that since x lies between 0 and 90. Therefore, cos x has to be positive, which means therefore cos x is equal to only plus half, which means since cos 60 degree is equal to half, therefore x is equal to 60 degree. So that's the first part of the question. The value of x is 60 degree. So this is done. Now we need to find the second part, which is sine squared 60 degree plus cos squared 60 degree. Now sine 60 degree is root 3 upon 2, which means this would be 3 upon 4. Cos 60 degree is 1 upon 2, which means 1 upon 4, which means this is equal to 4 upon 4, which is equal to 1. So the second value is also done. Let's look at part 3 of the question. Part 3 says 1 upon cos squared 60, which means 1 upon cos squared 60 minus tan squared 60 degree. So what's the value of cos 60? Cos 60 is 1 upon 2 square, which means 1 upon 4. 1 upon 2 whole square, that's 1 upon 4. Minus tan 60. Tan 60 is root 3 whole square. So this is equal to 4 minus 3, which is equal to 1. So the third part also done. The third part value is 1. Let's look at the next question. The next question that we do is question number 7. It says 2 cos 2a is equal to root 3 and a is acute. So again it is between 0 and 90 degree. So this means 2 cos 2a is equal to root 3, which means cos 2a is equal to root 3 upon 2. Cos 30 degree is equal to root 3 upon 2. So since cos 30 degree is equal to root 3 upon 2 is equal to cos 2a, this means 2a is equal to 30 degree, which means a is equal to 15 degree. So that's the first part of our question done. A is equal to 15 degree. Part 2, it says find sine 3a, which is equal to sine 3 into 15, that's sine 45 degree, and sine 45 degree is 1 upon root 2. So therefore sine 3a is equal to 1 upon root 2. So that's the second part of the question done. Let's look at part 3. Part 3 says find the value of sine square 75 minus a. A is 15, so that's 75 minus 15 plus cos square 45 plus 15. This is sine square 60 degree plus cos square 60 degree. I hope you remember from the previous question, sine square theta plus cos square theta was 1. Let's try it if it's the same for this case as well. So sine square 60 degree. So in this case, root 3 upon 2 whole square plus cos square 60, which is 1 upon 2 whole square. In this case, 3 upon 4 plus 1 upon 4, which is equal to 1. So I think we can look at an identity, which is sine square theta plus cos square theta is always equal to 1. This is in your syllabus in detail in 10th standard, but now that since we came across an example, just talked about it. Let's look at the next question. The next question that we're doing is question number 9. It says from the given figure find cos x degree. I hope you remember cos is base upon hypotenuse. So let's see, cos x degree would be equal to base, in this case BC, upon hypotenuse, in this case AC. BC is given as 10, AC is given as 20, so cos x is equal to half. So we've got the value of cos x. Part 2. Now since cos, which value of cos is half? Yes, cos 60 degree is half. Since cos 60 degree is equal to half, this means x is equal to 60 degree. So second part of a question done. X is given equal to 60 degree. Let's look at part 3. So part 3 would be 1 upon tan square 60. So 1 upon tan square 60 degree minus 1 upon sine square 60 degree. So tan square 60, tan 60 is nothing but cot 60. So cot 60 degree is 1 upon root 3. So this is 1 upon root 3 whole square minus 1 upon sine is cosec. So this is cosec square 60, which means 2 upon root 3 whole square. So this is 1 upon 3 minus 4 upon 3, which is equal to 1 minus 4 upon 3, which is negative 3 upon 3 is equal to negative 1. So the third part of the question is equal to negative 1. Let's look at the last part. Last part is part 4. It says use tan x to find y. Now we know tan x is equal to tan 60 degree is equal to perpendicular upon base or opposite upon adjacent. So opposite is AB, adjacent is BC, and this is equal to y upon 10. Tan 60 degree is equal to root 3. So root 3 is equal to y upon 10, which means y is equal to 10 root 3 centimeter. We can also write this as y is equal to 10 into 1.732, which means 17.32 centimeter. Since we know root 3 is equal to 1.732. Now let's look at the next question. The next question that we're doing is question number 11. Question number 11 says 2 sine A cos A minus 2 sine A plus 1 is equal to 0. Again, this looks like factorization to me. Let's see if I can combine two elements together and convert it into a equation which is in the form of factorized form. So if I group these two together in the form I have underlined, what's common between the first two elements? Yes, cos A is common. So if I take cos A common, the first element becomes 2 sine A and the second element is minus 1. Between these two, I can take negative 1 common, and this becomes 2 sine A minus 1. This is equal to 0. Again, 2 sine A minus 1 is common between these two terms. So I have 2 sine A minus 1 times cos A minus 1 is equal to 0. Now this looks like question 1 and 2 which we have done, which means either this is 0 or the second term is 0, which means 2 sine A minus 1 is equal to 0 or cos A minus 1 is equal to 0. This becomes 2 sine A is equal to 1 and the second becomes or cos A is equal to 1. This part is simple since cos 0 degree is equal to 1, which is given equal to cos A, therefore A is equal to 0 degree. So that's our first one part of A is done. Let's look at this. The first part, this is means sine A is equal to 1 upon 2. Now since sine 30 degree is equal to 1 upon 2, which is given equal to sine A, this means A is equal to 30 degree. So I have two values of A, which means A is equal to 0 degree or 30 degree. That finishes this question for me. Let's look at the last question for this video. The last question we do for this video is question number 11, part 2. So it says tan A minus 2 cos A tan A. Again, let's take these two, group them together like the way I have underlined. So what element is common is tan A. What remains here is 1 minus 2 cos A. And from the second term, I take plus 1 common. No, minus 1 common. If I take minus 1 common, then I should be able to get what I have in the first term. So if I take minus 1 common, this becomes minus 2 cos A plus 1. Let's just reconfirm. This would be plus 2 cos A and this would be minus 1. Perfect. So then 1 minus 2 cos A and 1 minus 2 cos A is common. So this becomes tan A minus 1 times 1 minus 2 cos A is equal to 0, which means tan A minus 1 is equal to 0, or 1 minus 2 cos A is equal to 0. This means tan A is equal to 1 or 2 cos A is equal to 1. Now we know tan 45 degree is equal to 1 and this is given equal to tan A. Therefore, A is equal to 45 degree. So the first part of the equation is solved. A can be 45 degree. This means cos A is equal to half, and we know since cos 60 degree is equal to half and this is given equal to cos A, what we get is A is equal to 60 degree. So we have two values of A, therefore A is equal to 45 degree or 60 degree. Done. That finishes this video for me. Let me mark some homework questions for you. Okay, yes, I ended up erasing A here, so let me just write this back. And homework questions for you. So homework for you would be whatever we haven't solved till here, which is question number 1 part 1, 1 part 3, 1 part 6. In question number 2, what we didn't solve was part 2, part 4. We didn't solve question 3, question 5, question 6, question 8 and question 10. That's quite a bit of homework, but very simple questions, shouldn't take you long. Thank you so much. Take care. Be safe. I'll see you with the next video. Bye bye.